Major funding for this Read 180 workshop is provided by the National Science Foundation, America's investment in the future.
Intel Corporation is a proud supporter of PBS. The Intel Innovation in Education Initiative provides teachers with the resources to inspire their students and encourage them to unlock their potential.
At Jif Peanut Butter, we know just how choosy you are when it comes to your family, including the shows you value most. Public television encourages kids' curiosity and love of learning, and Jif is proud to support Cyberchase on behalf of all choosy moms and dads.
And by a ready-to-learn television cooperative agreement from the U.S. Department of Education through the Public Broadcasting Service.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This program was also made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Workshop 4, Crime Lab Science. Clues left by cold-blooded killers, decomposing dead bodies, odd evidence that just doesn't add up. It's the stuff of popular crime shows like CSI, and America just can't get enough. It's also the work of real forensic scientists who use the latest scientific technology to crack criminal cases. They take the evidence that is collected at a crime scene and then perform tests on it in a lab. Their findings can be precise enough to catch a killer. In this workshop, we'll explore the forensics phenomenon and learn the techniques scientists use to solve criminal cases. First, you'll go inside the crime lab, meet the different death scene investigators, and see exactly how they analyze evidence. Then you'll read about an actual murder case where the most important clues come from the victim's dead body. And finally, you'll see how sometimes the tiniest clue, invisible to the naked eye, can identify the bad guy through his DNA. Our video story is about an artist who is an extra set of eyes for investigators. He uses his amazing artistic talents to bring the dead and missing to life. Now, get ready to dig deep and see how cases are solved with Crime Lab Science. Reading 1. Welcome to the Crime Lab. Evidence. It's what forensic scientists rely on to solve cases. It can be anything related to the crime. Blood, bullets, hair, fingerprints, dead skin, and sometimes a dead body. Investigators collect it all. Back at the crime lab, several different kinds of forensic scientists examine the evidence. A forensic pathologist looks for the cause of death by doing an autopsy. She examines the body inside and out, taking x-rays and blood and tissue samples. The forensic toxicologist examines the blood and tissue samples using microscopes and chemical analysis. The toxicologist's tests can verify if the person died from a toxic substance like poison or drugs. Crime scientists also use computers to compare fingerprint evidence with fingerprints of other criminals listed in their computer database. As you'll read in this encyclopedia article, it can take a whole team of scientists to catch one criminal. Reading 2. Body of evidence. Sometimes all the clues cops need to catch a murderer are right on the victim's body. That's why an autopsy is so important. During an autopsy, the pathologist examines and records everything about the dead body. Obvious things, like knife or bullet wounds, and tiny details, like a strand of hair or a flake of skin. The pathologist can then verify whether that hair or skin belongs to the victim. If it doesn't, it may reveal who the victim was with when they died, possibly the murderer. So tiny clues can be enough to convict a killer. In this magazine article, you'll follow forensic pathologists as they perform an autopsy on a real murder victim. And you'll see what clues they found on and in his corpse. Reading 3, DNA Analysis, the key to solving crimes. How does a pathologist verify whose blood, skin, or hair they're dealing with? By reading its DNA. Hair and skin are full of DNA, a chemical found in the nucleus of every cell in your body. DNA is like your own microscopic identity card. Except for identical twins, everyone's is unique. Criminals leave their DNA all over crime scenes because everyone sheds hair and skin all the time. Pathologists collect these tiny bits of evidence and identify the chemical pattern of its DNA code. Using a computer, they can compare that code with the DNA of criminals in a computer database or with DNA collected from a suspect in the case. If they get a match, often the case can be solved. Since it was developed in 1984, DNA testing has been used to identify and convict many criminals. DNA evidence has also been used to clear innocent people and get them out of jail. In this science text, you'll explore the power of DNA evidence and see how it's changed crime fighting forever. Meet the man who puts a face on unsolved crime. Frank Bender. He's a forensic sculptor, and his casts of criminals and unidentified victims have helped crack cases that leave law enforcement stumped. Find out why he's called the Skull Man. Frank Bender brings cold cases back to life. When a body is found decomposed beyond recognition, Bender recreates a lifelike face of the victim in clay. He uses only the facts of the autopsy, the person's skull, and his artist's sense of the human face to guide him. Bender's work as a forensic sculptor is unique and sometimes the last hope of identifying a missing person. Take this case in 2001. Police found an unidentified skull with a bullet hole in it in the mountains of Puerto Rico. They asked Bender to create a bust of the victim. The pathology report suggested the victim's age, gender, and race. Bender had to flesh out the rest.
First thing when I look at a new skull is to try to get a visual handle on what the person looks like as a whole.
He consulted facial thickness charts and skull x-rays to determine how much flesh, or clay in this case, he should put on the skull. Then he applied facial thickness markers. As Bender sculpted, police got more information. A drug dealer had confessed to murdering a man near the place where the skull was found, and a woman reported her son missing in the very same area. Could this be the skull of the murdered man and the missing son? The police decided to test this theory. They called in the missing man's mother and showed her Bender's completed sculpture. Her tears were enough to confirm their suspicion. Once they ID'd the victim, the drug dealer pleaded guilty to homicide. Case closed. Bender doesn't just revive the dead. He's also famous for helping find fugitives, criminals who have been on the run for decades. Case in point, John List. In 1971, List brutally murdered his whole family, his wife, his kids, and his mother, and then he disappeared for 18 years. Police had nearly given up on finding him when they went to Frank Bender. Using his unique understanding of human faces, Bender sculpted a bust of List showing what he might look like now in his 60s. The bust was shown on America's Most Wanted, and after only 11 days, John List was caught. One viewer recognized the 65-year-old List as his neighbor and turned him in. The likeness of John List was eerily precise, but Bender doesn't claim to have magic powers. He relies heavily on information from investigators when he ages a fugitive.
I get into their eating habits, drinking habits, hereditary factors, lifestyle, anything that I can find out about the fugitive I want to know.
Still, it takes a great eye and a lot of intuition to do what this artist does. Frank Bender brings new meaning to the word busted.